You look like a young babe. I get to be the old guy.
Yeah, you're the old guy today. I
You're the
shaved
young
this off, and
guy.
my neighbor was like, "What happened?" I was out scrubbing our deck, and he
Yeah.
looked up and he's like, "What happened to your face?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You look like a middle-aged baby." I do look like a middle-aged baby. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm
That's the
comfortable with it.
toughness of having a round face.
Oh my god,
I
so
have to
round.
keep this like shitty excuse for a beard just to cover my double chin.
Yeah.
It barely does it. Let's just call this the double chin show.
The double chin show. The double chin show.
Oh, that reminds
Nice.
me, the Dale Show. Doing it quiet again because the child still gets super into the podcast. Wish she could share her enthusiasm with the masses. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, like we talked about it last week, but this week we're gonna do Tartaria.
All right.
Tartaria. What song is that?
I don't know. I can't tell what you're singing. It was so bad.
It's like yikes.
I love you, buddy.
That
was
hurts
mean.
my feelings. Okay,
I'm sorry.
so for full disclosure, I didn't do any research on Wikipedia because
He's gonna read it instead.
Well, when I went to Wikipedia to do research, I was like, well, that's kind of bitchy. So we're going to start by reading Wikipedia's intro to Tartarian Empire. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yep.
Oh,
Hope they have tarts.
Oh, tarts. Okay, let's see. Sorry, computer messages. Okay, this is from Wikipedia. Tartarian Empire refers to a group of pseudo-historical conspiracy theories, including ideas of a hidden past and mud floods, which originated as pseudo-scientific Russian nationalism. Tartary, or Tartaria, is a historical name for Central Asia and Siberia. Conspiracy theories assert that Tartary, or the Tartarian Empire, was a lost civilization with advanced technology and culture. This ignores the well-documented history of Asia, which Tartary refers to. In the present day, the Tartary region covers a region spanning from central Afghanistan to northern Kazakhstan, as well as areas in present Mongolia, China, and the Russian Far East in Chinese Tartary.
Cool.
So,
okay, that's good. I didn't know that it was regional. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's but okay, full disclosure, we're not going to go full down the rabbit hole deep on Tartaria because it is insanely big. And I went down 3 different rabbit holes with Tartaria.
I remember you talking about it.
I scaled it back, and we're just going to kind of do like an introduction to it, mostly based on an article I read on, what was it? The Observer magazine. Oh, weird coincidence. I have 2 sources. One is Discovery magazine, which is like the normal science person, and then there's the Observer magazine, which is the batshit crazy guy, which obviously is so much better.
It would be way more fun to read that one.
Yeah. And then I started an audiobook, and then there's this guy on TikTok. It's called My Lunch Break, and he goes like he spends like 10-minute episodes just going deep on specific buildings, which will make sense as we go in the episode. Okay. I don't want to like
in that specific buildings in that region of Tartaria.
No, in America.
In America. Okay, that are connected to Tartaria.
Yeah. So I got 4 pages of notes.
Okay.
That I wrote up, and like I cut and pasted from those 2 sources and added some stuff. So we're just going to do the read episode.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about anything, just interrupt me.
All right, copy that.
Because I
can do that.
We got to do a tight hour, but I'm so good at reading, I'll probably get through in less than an hour if I just
okay.
Because I don't know if I didn't even stumble once in that Wikipedia reading.
You know what? You didn't, and I'm proud of you because that's a rare occasion. I love
Dude,
that.
5 years ago when I started this podcast, I was not as good at
I was there.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. I'm here for you.
Okay.
I'm way better. I'm very proud of you.
Is there anything we should talk about? Any housekeeping or anything?
Do a quick recap of the last episode if it's connected to this one.
It's not connected.
Oh, it's not connected. Oh no, it's not connected because you said that we weren't going to talk about Tartaria until this
Yeah,
one. So no, go nuts.
this was planned for
Right.
last
Yeah. Last time
episode,
we
but
did
then
it.
I listened to Joe Rogan and had all these ideas about pyramid power, which was a follow up to my second episode,
Right.
which I could spend another episode talking about fucking Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan.
Dude, I gotta.
Ooh,
Can I interrupt you?
ooh,
I know we have to do a tight hour, and you want to get through
ooh,
this, and you got some reading to do.
ooh, Terrence Howard.
I was watching a show on TV, and I don't even remember what it was. But you remember how we were talking about in the last episode about the vibrations for
Yeah.
the pyramid and the like
Mhm.
the what was it, sonic lifting or whatever it
Yeah.
was?
Like
Um,
the wavelength or whatever,
yeah.
the
So,
tone shift and stuff. Yeah.
so we were watching an episode of this show on Netflix, The Unexplained Files,
Mm-hmm.
and they literally talked about that for one episode about
Oh,
how there's
crazy.
a theory that Egyptians had these rows of metal prongs dug
Yeah.
into the earth, and there was a shaman, a sound shaman, who would hit it and then
Dude, that's what
create
I was talking about.
vibrations. Yeah, and
Oh
then
my
they
God, I
would move
gotta
it around.
watch
I was
that.
like, what the fuck? We literally just talked about this on the
That's
podcast. So
crazy. That
anyway,
means it's true. That means
yeah, it
Dale
means
was
it's true.
right.
So somebody else is talking about that. It's not just Dale. It's literally on Netflix. So if you
Nice.
get a chance to watch the Unexplained
It's out
Files on
there.
Netflix, it's like episode 3 or 4. But they talk about the Egyptians moved bricks with sound and vibration
Nice.
levitation.
Yeah, and Terrence Howard talks about all that on the Joe Rogan
Yeah,
experience.
it's wild.
And
So
then there's this like Sator Square. I just did a big tick or just did a TikTok or not a TikTok, a Twitter thread on it. It's
cool.
just crazy. I saw a TikTok. Anyways,
All right.
it's the weirdest thing is right now everything just is looping back to each other and touching each other.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something else.
Go. Yeah. No, go
All
ahead.
that interesting stuff that just is everything's talking about it. What's that
We're gonna do something
fucking
different. Let's Tartaria. Let's go. We do the
oh, there's this
Tartarian.
thing where it's like humans have a hive mind and there's like not magnetic resonance something, but there's like this thing where it's like once one learn human yeah.
Magnetic
Ooh,
resonance.
nice. But there's this thing where it's like once a human learns something for the first time, then it goes up to like the atmosphere, some electricity thing, and then
Oh,
other
and
humans
everybody
can
else
learn
gets
it.
the same idea.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Fuck. It was
It's
this
like
would
on
be way
Twitter when
better.
everybody claims you stole my joke, but everybody has the same thought at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's high mind. Okay. This is we're starting with Discovery Magazine and Observer Magazine. I intertwined them.
And I'm allowed to
Links in
interrupt
the show
whenever.
notes. Yeah.
Okay.
Western Europeans and Russians used to refer to a region in Asia as Tartary. So I'm just going back,
Is that where the sauce comes
doing
from
another.
for your
Oh,
fish?
that comes up.
Sorry.
That
Does it
comes up.
really?
Yeah, it
Okay, I'm
does.
sorry.
Well, kind of. This area included Siberia and parts of Central Asia, including Mongolia and stretching as far south as Afghanistan. By the 1800s, some Russians saw their country as the world power in the East and entitled to the land and its resources. So, what was Tartaria? Or, sorry, so what was Tartar? The word Tartar meant barbarian. In the mid 1600s, Italian writer Martino Martini,
I love those Italians.
that's
What
an
was it
actual name.
last episode? You it was what were we talking about?
Oh, God, I can't remember.
There was a guy. What was like? It was Galileo Galilei. That was his
Oh,
name. You're like, what?
yeah.
Why do the Italian people name themselves like that back in the day?
Yeah, dude. Martino Martini
Yeah,
is a dick move
that's a
to
dick move
name
for
your son
sure.
that.
That'd be like me being named Jeffrey Jefferson, right? Like it's just,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Dalesburg.
So Martino Martini, he wrote De Bello Tartarico about his travels in China. So basically, what they're saying is it's called Tartary. Like I'm just surmassing. So I don't know,
Summarizing.
guessing. But what they're alluding to is this guy in Italy called this area in Tartar like or this area Tartaria, which because it was full of barbarians, so he called it like Tartar, which would I guess would be like calling it area Barbar, not
Yeah,
the elephant from the comic strip.
that's bad bar,
But
but whatever. Yeah.
the best part about this is we get to refer to the sauce as barbarian sauce.
Oh,
Have some
sick.
fish with barbarian sauce,
Hell
eh?
yeah, barbarian sauce.
Yeah. His work was translated into other languages and helped vaguely apply the term to a wide region of people. And then we get so what is the Tartarian Empire mud flood conspiracy? So this goes hand in hand with all of Tartaria. Most of the empire was supposedly lost in a series of mudslides, typically referred to as mud floods. Some buildings remain and still stand today. Famous landmarks such as the US Capitol building, built in 1800, are claimed actually to be from the Tartarian Empire and to be thousands of years old. The conspiracy is that the empire was intentionally erased and history was rewritten to make buildings seem younger and more modern. The CIA in 1957 declassified an document, or sorry, a declassified CIA document from 1957 actually mentions the scrubbing of history by communist attackers. But before that, I just want to
Hmm.
touch back. So, because I don't want, like, I summarize this, so I don't want to make it too
It's too
summarized
summary.
so you don't really
Yeah.
get what's going on. So, what's happened in the States in a lot of cities, like I mentioned the US Capitol building, there's these
Mhm.
buildings that so to go back another step, Tartary was a global empire. Like it was based in that area I said before, but the conspiracy theory is that they were a world empire and they had like little offshoots and they were like in the USA and they had all these advanced like technology and buildings and stuff. Like think of Atlantis, but it's like Russians or whatever, and
Yeah.
they're but then something happened, the mud flood supposedly wiped them out, and then people were like wanted to take North America for themselves. So they're like, yeah, this stuff we built that like in the 1800s. So there's all these articles and stuff about and like 1870s a date to look out for.
Okay.
So I don't want to get into it too much because that's one of the rabbit holes
Excuse me.
that I was talking about going to, and I mentioned it later in my notes. But yeah, so
I was
that's
just looking at the map of Tartary, like the one that they show on Wikipedia, and it's calling it Chinese Tartary, and it basically borders Persia,
Mhm.
which is interesting. It borders and Hindustan and China. It's like kind of it's basically where Mongolia would be right now.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think there was like there used to be four areas or
correct.
sections of
Yeah,
Tartaria. Yeah.
yeah. Kinkatau, or sorry, Korea. Oh, Korea. Huh. I get what that is. No, but it was with a C because it's old
Oh,
school.
core. Maybe that's how it used to be spelled. Cora.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mongolia, Korea.
So do you want to hear the CIA
Yeah. Go ahead. Keep
document?
going. Sorry.
I got it's a long one, but bear with me. And it's in 1950s talk, so it's kind of fun.
Oh, sweet.
Um, okay, so it starts mid sentence, which is annoying. Or let us take the matter of history, which, along with religion, language, and literature, constitute the core of people's cultural heritage. Here again, the communists have interfered in a shameless manner. For example, on 9 August 1944, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, I'm pausing where there's commas because that's how you're supposed to read
Yeah.
commas. If anybody thinks I'm just doing staccato, it's because that's how they talked in the 50s. They had lots of pauses. Okay. The Central Committee of the Communist Party, sitting in Moscow, issued a directive ordering the party's Tartar Provincial Committee to proceed to scientific revision and mistakes of a nationalistic character committed by individual writers and historians in dealing with Tartar history. In other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten. Let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to Great Russian aggressions and to hide the facts of real course of Tartar-Russian relations. And this was no isolated case. In every Muslim area within the USSR, historians, on orders of the Communist Party, have rewritten history to distort the facts so that the Russians appear always in a good light. Needless to say, histories which present the facts truthfully and have been withdrawn and destroyed, so that the present and future generations of Muslims are forever denied the chance of learning the true facts of their nation's past. So this is also saying that Tartary might have been like a Muslim.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it borders that area, right, like by
Yeah.
near Persia, it's not a far stretch to think it might be a Muslim area at one point in time.
And this could also have something to do with the Moors and how they had that
Right.
crusade that took over all of like they went down the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea and then came up through Spain and Portugal and looped back over to Italy.
Yeah.
So maybe judge going by that, that could be part of this whole Tartarian Empire.
Totally. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what actually happened to Tartaria? Like it the weird thing is like also it's like not like a real theory, it's all like conspiracy theories
Yeah.
and blah blah blah. But so it's like this mud flood. The destruction of Tartaria was most likely due to a massive crustal movements and the liquefaction of land, aka the mud flood. During this catastrophe, a vast majority of the world's population was lost, and their cities were entombed under a layer of hardy sediment. Amid the onslaught, small bands of humans survived together in tunnels, later surfacing from their bunkers to rebuild on top of the buried remains of the previous society where possible. They reclaimed the ornate buildings of the past that remained intact, half covered beneath post mud flood debris. These structures are the grand neoclassical and Greco Roman designs that can be seen in many early American cities, standing in stark contrast to the joyless skyscrapers that were later erected en masse in the 1900s.
You can't keep saying mud flood and erected.
Dude, it's hard because like the article abbreviates mud flood to MF, so that's why I stumbled there. I just about said mud
Yes.
MFers. These
MFers.
MF because it says the MF when
Mhm.
it refers to like mud flood conspiracy guys.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I could see that. So so this is like a tale as old as time kind of thing, right? You're
Hmm.
talking about a flood and a cataclysmic event and something that happens and wipes out a civilization and starts it
Yeah.
over again.
So this is weird too because it's like it doesn't say it was a flood. It says it was like crust
Yeah.
liquefaction. And that can happen with like if the earth gets too hot, apparently there's this thing called crust liquefaction where the actual crust of the earth gets soft and you get way more earthquakes.
Right.
And then it's kind of saying like but it's kind of hard because it makes it sound like these buildings all sank, but if they sank, they would have like toppled and stuff.
Right.
So it must have been just like the mud rose up, I guess. I don't know. Could have been sediment after a flood, but then if there was like a big flood, wouldn't the buildings be trashed?
Well, it depends though too. Like I mean, old buildings, a lot of them have withstood the test of time, and in certain areas in the world, especially in the east, they don't knock buildings down like they knock them down here and start over again.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So it may just be like a minor inconvenience. There's a mud flood, and like, would it wipe out the foundation of the building or did it knock the building down? And
Yeah.
remember, when we're talking about buildings, we're talking about almost ancient times buildings where they're a lot
Yeah.
smaller, not big skyscrapers or anything, right?
And if you want to, like I was saying before, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, look up this on my lunch break guy. He has one of his theories, like you know how I was saying people survived in the tunnels and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
He's saying that like all the catacombs in France
Oh
and
yeah,
like
you were telling me about this.
Ukraine,
Yeah,
he's saying that's from the fucking Tartaria, or that's where
right.
they buried all the Tartarians because the one under France or under Paris, I
Yeah,
guess, is supposed to have like 6 million bodies in
yeah.
it,
It's a lot of people. It's
which
more
is
people than
nuts,
yeah.
especially back then because the world population was way
Wasn't
lower.
even that big. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not it was 6 million people big, but it wasn't like yeah, totally.
That
It's a
would be
different.
like if you took Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary and just shoved every single person into some caves.
Yeah. See, the
All their
population of
bones.
Paris currently is even only 2.16 million.
Yeah. See, so what the fuck?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I think the official story of the catacombs is the when the graveyards would fill up, they would just take the bones and make sweet designs underneath the city.
right.
So, and apparently it was supposed to happen for hundreds of years, but who knows? It's one of those. The whole point of like Tartary is you can't just be like, hey, this is stupid because here's the actual facts about what happened because they're like, this is what we think happened. So you're like, well, if you don't know for sure, how can you say Tartaria wasn't real for sure? And they're like, oh, we can't, but it's dumb, so it's not real. And you're like, all right.
Yeah,
So this is one of those ones that I don't necessarily believe, but I definitely want to believe because it's a dope story.
right.
because it could be like Atlantis. Like
Man,
Atlantis could have just been like a Tartarian city.
this is wild. Like I was just looking up the populations. Like Paris was 6.2 million people. Vancouver is
Yeah.
actually only 662,000 people,
Yeah.
and then
When
Burnaby is
people
250,000 people, and
Surrey's like a million.
Surrey's 568,000.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but the whole district area of the greater Vancouver area is
GVRD?
2.68 million. But that
Ah.
calculates it all together.
Wait, does that includes what? Like Kits,
Let's see.
Richmond, Delta.
I got sidetracked, sorry, on this
That's
population
all
thing.
right.
What does Greater Vancouver encompass? Southwest corner of mainland British Columbia. It is, let
Does
me
that
tell you right
include
here. Vancouver, Surrey, Burnaby, Richmond, Coquitlam, Delta, New Westminster, Port Coquitlam, North Vancouver, West Vancouver.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's weird that
Yeah.
they don't consider when they're counting, they should just consider North Vancouver, West Vancouver, and Vancouver all one city.
Yeah. No, I know it's a bit strange. Well, because they're separated by a bridge, right?
That's true. Good point, Jeff.
So anyway, I
Okay.
digress. I'm sorry. So even that, like, just to even think about it in those terms of
Yeah.
population, if there's 6 million bodies buried
There's
under Paris,
there's three
where did they all come from?
GVRDs. Like if
Yeah,
you took the whole lower mainland and shoved it in a cave under a church,
but
it
through
would be a
three
third of
times,
it. Yeah.
right?
Okay. As further proof of their hypothesis, mud flooders highlight specific construction curiosities
Does it say
prevalent.
MFers? I'm sorry. Does it say
Oh,
MFers there?
it says mud flooders.
Okay, all right. So it said MFers, and you're interpreting.
I just definitely got busted with copy paste.
Oh, go ahead. That's
uh
awesome.
hold on. My baby's wailing. I gotta check what's going on.
Okay,
Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna start this paragraph over because I
do it.
paused because my baby was crying. As further
All
proof
good.
of their hypothesis, mud flooders highlight specific construction curiosities prevalent in pre-1900 buildings. Many older structures feature doorways, entrances, and or large windows that are half submerged below modern-day street level. So what this is saying is that the
Short doors.
mud from the flood, the top of that is modern-day street level, so in New York and stuff, a lot of these buildings, if you dig down like 20 feet,
Yeah,
there's
there's like
like,
another floor downstairs.
yeah. So they're saying that there's a lot of these buildings that just start on like the second floor,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
if you Scotland's like that too. There's a whole set, like the street is up above, and there's like literally below,
Mm,
uh like a bunch of, I don't know if that's intentional. Okay, cool entry.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well, this is just like, yeah, we don't know. That was just the way they built buildings back then.
right,
Like they're saying that that's just like the base of the building and it wasn't actually the first floor.
right.
So, what famous landmarks are part of the Tartarian Empire conspiracy? The Notre Dame de Paris, not anymore because it burnt
No.
down, is one landmark that conspiracy theories believe was created by Tartars, not French
Really?
craftsmen in the 1100s. In online forums, conspiracy theories have claimed it was used as a sound bath by Tartars. There you go, back to the sound shamans.
A sound bath, did you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just as they're gonna take all this like sound shaman moving blocks to make the pyramids and sound
Yeah.
baths of Notre Dame, and they're just gonna boil it down till we get sonic showers like in Star Trek.
Yeah, totally.
Sonic blowjobs.
Ooh,
Conspiracy
nice.
theories also claim more ornate buildings as Tartarian. This ranges from the World Heritage sites like the Taj Mahal to
Mhm.
short lived buildings like the Chicago Federal Building that only stood for 60 years. If I'm smart, I will remember to put in pictures of all these. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But yeah, like the Chicago Federal Building, I looked it up. It was only around for 60 years and it's like this huge, nice building. And they're like, they built it and then 60 years later like, nah, it's kind of small, let's just knock it over. But I get that was in like, I can't remember what date it was there till, I think it
It's
was like,
gone now. That building
yeah,
is cool.
yeah, it only stood for 60 years and then they just knocked it over.
Wow.
So what a lot of people say with Tartarian buildings is that that actually wasn't built 60 years before they tore it down, it was just been there for a long time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they're like, we're done with this building that we totally obviously built, we're just gonna knock it down. uh, the theory also claims buildings briefly constructed. This is the sexy part.
Okay.
This is what got me into Tartaria in the first place.
All right.
So the theory also claims buildings briefly constructed for world fairs or expositions were part of the Tartarian Empire. In 1915, San Francisco hosted the Panama Pacific International Exposition. The fair site included the Tower of Jewels, a temporary structure that was demolished soon after the fair ended. Conspiracy theories claimed it was an example of ancient Tartarian capital. So the whole thing with this like world fair is it's like it's all like what was it 1915 that they had all
Mhm.
these, so they had all these world fairs and like they had one in Chicago, they had some in like Missouri or something,
Yeah.
and they're like they said they built all these super big ornate buildings in like 3 years and they're like, oh, they're just fake, so we're just gonna knock them all down as like an excuse to knock down these Tartarian buildings so that people weren't like, wait, what are these
What is
buildings
that building?
from?
Yeah. So you stop
Yeah,
questioning it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they didn't have internet or like
Right.
regular people didn't have access to old photographic evidence and stuff.
Yeah.
So they couldn't question it. They'd be like, thought there's a building there, but I'm not. But
Yeah.
the other thing is another thing comes up in the notes in a bit, which is also crazy. Shouldn't have even said that. Okay. Um, Then there are the puzzling cases of the world's fairs and expos that crop up around the turn of the 20th century, shortly after the Great Burying supposedly took place. Mudflood theorists see inherent contradictions in many of the large, opulent buildings that dotted the primitive American landscape in conjunction with these events. The fairs and expos featured expansive complexes built in a classical style that mimicked the ancient places of antiquity. The lavishly adorned buildings were palatial in size, architecture appearing out of place and incompatible against the bland and homogeneous dwellings that were the mainstay in cities across the country at the time.
Right. Very fancy buildings where not fancy buildings existed.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's one, fuck, I can't remember where it is. Like I said, I think it's in like Missouri or something,
Right. Like in a
where there's
random
this,
place where you wouldn't expect to see a building like
yeah,
that
there's
at
this like
all. Right.
huge old building.
Right.
I'll put pictures
Okay.
in,
Cool.
like I said, I'm gonna try to remember. Um Enter the skeptical mudflood crowd. They question why anyone would spend so much effort and money to construct extravagant marvels only to demolish them. A short time later, they claim it's more likely that these structures were already there, remnants of the precursor society that existed prior to the reset. Their deliberate destruction as part of the World's Fair was part of a concerted plan to erase any traces of this prior culture.
Huh.
Chicago's World Fair claimed to have 27 million attendees in 1893. To put that number into context, the total population of America was approximately 70 million at that time. So basically, half of
So
America went to Chicago's World Fair.
yeah, but I mean it's a world fair, right? So everybody's invited from around
Yeah,
the world. So if they're tracking attendance, it could you're not drawing from America's population, you're drawing from the world's population.
yeah. This would suggest that over a third of the people alive in the country made their way to the shores of Lake Michigan to witness the expo. But
Mm.
what if
Oh, here
something
we go.
else happened,
Here we
Jeff?
go. Yeah, what
What
if?
if it wasn't America coming to the World Expo? What if it was the tunnel people leaving the
Leaving the World
expo?
Expo?
Yes.
Were they checking tickets on the way out? Is that how they're getting the
No.
census numbers? Click,
Yeah.
click, click, click. 6 million people. That's weird.
Or
We
like
probably should have checked them on the way in.
there's 27 million people, 23 of them are dusty.
Yeah,
But
they're
yeah.
dusty. They came up out of the catacombs.
Yeah, remember when I
I'm
said
just gonna. Thanks. It was a fun World
yeah,
Fair. I'll see you later.
they survived the mud flood in the tunnels.
Right.
Eh?
Which it seems like a
Eh?
like I know you mentioned tunnels earlier. It seems like a weird way to get away from mud floods is to go underground into tunnels where you can't escape if they fill with mud.
Or like if they were in the basement of these buildings, they would that would be underground because like the first floor goes underground. So if
Right.
you're like in the part, like if you're in like a modern day parkade of your building, which would be the safest spot in not like an actual flood because it would fill with water, but if it's like a mud flood or something and the mud's not going to work its way down.
Like so you're thinking the mud floods almost like a solid
Yeah, I
peanut
don't
buttery
know.
consistency across the top.
Yeah.
It's not filling the gaps and it's not filling the bottom floor. I don't know, man. I think mud would
Well, it
find
might be,
like it's
or
semi-liquid and it's going to find
yeah,
the shortest distance between 2 points, which is a
that's
hollow,
true.
right? And it's
Yeah,
going to be heavy as fuck.
but it's like, what was that ant village that was in like the Middle East that they found a while ago? But anyways, even just like the catacombs, maybe
Yeah.
the people were living in there, because there's one in Ukraine, yeah, Ukraine, that is supposedly 1,500 miles long, and they only have 1 mile of it open to the public because they're like, the rest is too dangerous. But it's like, how many people could you fit in 1,500 miles of tunnel?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like
Unless
it
it's
would
just
be great living
rigged.
conditions.
No, but if that's your only way to live, like what if it's like a nuclear war or something?
Good point.
Like, would you take your
Caesarea,
family into a tunnel?
Caesarea Maritima. That's
Oh, is that?
the
Oh,
that
okay.
is the port city on the coast that had underground. No, that's not right. Anyway, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Go ahead.
It started with
I
a
was trying to
D, I
find the
thought.
ant city.
Yeah, anyways, the throngs of people aren't arriving at the fairgrounds, they're departing. Recall that in MF lore, the fairgrounds are associated buildings were cobbled together just prior to the expositions, but were instead established pre flood. They suggest that these grand complexes were repurposed for use as survival bunkers during the catastrophe. The old photographs showing gobs of people passing through fairs and expos were simply survivors leaving their safe havens on a mission to resettle the continent.
Aaron Kuyu, Cappadocia, the underground city in Turkey.
Sorry, I was coughing my face off.
No, all
But I
good.
didn't hear you.
Oh, Cappadocia. That's the
Oh,
Turkey's underground city of 200,000 people.
okay,
Anyway,
nice.
sorry, I got distracted by
200,000, that's not enough to repopulate the world. But I guess if each city has 200,000 people and 6 million people worth of bones.
yeah.
According to some mudflood historians, the would be victims of the impending disaster sought to preserve humanity's future by stocking their underground shelters with children. Researchers interpret the documented influx of orphans and foundlings, babies abandoned by both parents, in the mid 1800s. This is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Completely separate from Tartaria. I was totally gonna look this up, but I totally got sidetracked. Just fucking thinking about like sound on matter and making shit fly, like Terrence Howard was talking about. But in the 1800s, apparently there was this like giant population of just orphan kids. Like that's why movies like, or not movies, like stories like Oliver Twist
Yeah.
were popular, and like Annie and stuff, because there was just fucking tons of orphans. Okay, in the mid 1800s, as a direct result of the youthful outpouring that took place after the reset event. They cite the rise of orphanages, asylums, and other child welfare endeavors that burst onto the scene in the 1870s of proof of this homeless horde. Compelling images of trains overflowing with grubby miners accompanied the official uptick in the number of uncared for offspring during that era. Known as mercy trains or orphan trains, these programs disperse clusters of kids around the country and are often mentioned as a plausible way to covertly repopulate depleted cities after the muddy reset. So this is fucking wild. They just had these trains full of orphans, and they would just send them to buttfuck Ohio, and like hundreds of kids
Repopulate.
would get off. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess that's why there was so much child labor back then,
Right. That's
which is
weird. That's a weird
crazy.
thing to think about.
Yeah. Update: my kid was crying because she pooped.
Oh. Oh, yeah. That's twice a
Hard
month for
poops.
me. Yeah, the
Oh,
hard poops.
I can't even think about it. Just
Twice a month for me. I
sucks.
get do a
Yeah.
poop that makes me cry. Oh my god. I'm
Okay.
okay. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Oh, this is almost the end of my notes.
All right.
And then we can have
Notes.
discussion time. How long have we been talking? Like half hour only?
Yeah,
This
I
went
guess so. It's been pretty quick.
fast. I'm so
I
good
haven't
at
interrupted you as
reading.
much as I should because
So fast at reading. Well, we could
man,
talk about specific. Yeah,
I was trying to like not say anything about you repeating mud floods so many times and making it into bathroom
I
humor.
know.
Try to be serious.
That's the problem when you take like a written blog post and read it out loud, because like when you write stuff out, you always feel like
Yeah,
you have to attribute who actually it is instead of saying they.
yeah.
So Yeah.
I find like this whole thing fascinating because like we've discussed on this show before, like great resets
Hmm.
throughout history. And like I know it's a conspiracy theory show, and all good conspiracy theory things come from like this cataclysmic event or this great reset happened and then
Yeah.
everything got repopulated. The buildings thing I find interesting,
Yeah.
like tying architecture
Oh,
into it.
there's
Go ahead.
one, there's one fucking you can go look at on global. Because I was watching this guy, my lunch break
Yeah.
guy, his podcast, and there's one he was talking about, and you could just go on Google Earth and see some of these fucking crazy shit. Here, what is it? Oh, it's on my phone. Shit.
Yeah, I don't have Google Earth on my
Oh
thing. I
yeah.
can
So,
look at like
anyways, some of the cities that had these nice buildings in them, like Nebraska,
yeah.
Chicago, St. Louis, San Francisco, and yeah, the Nebraska one was the one when I was trying to like remember when I was saying in the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
Right, right.
Anyways, fuck, I can't remember. Anyways, it's on my phone. I don't want to have you
The
listen.
capital of Nebraska is Lincoln.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
They have the National Museum of Roller Skating there.
Cool.
I don't know. I'm just looking it
Totally,
up on that.
totally dope. Fuck, what building was it? It's like maybe the post. Anyway, so oh, one of the other things this guy, I might as well bring this up. One of the ways you could tell if a building was supposedly a Tartarian one was on their flag was a griffin,
Yeah.
and you can on this one in, I think it's Missouri or whatever. But there's just like it's just like a post office or something, and there's just like these ornate griffins carved into the top of it in blue and
Weird.
gold.
It's a very British. Griffin is a very British
Yeah,
motif.
and then yeah. So like anytime you see like a griffin or a griffin flag on a building, it's supposed to be like just another clue that it was a Tartarian building. Okay, and
Interesting.
then just to finish up my notes,
Yeah.
1871 also saw a curious span of enormous fires rage unchecked across the Midwest. Most are familiar with the Great Chicago Fire that scorched
Yeah.
large swaths of the Windy City, but few know of the Great Michigan Fires, Prestigo Fire, or the Port Huron Fire that occurred on the same day. This
Well,
rash of fires consumed over 1 million acres and accounted for an unprecedented loss of life. Urbana, Illinois, and Windsor, Ontario, also saw conflagration sweep through their towns. In a
conflagration. Great word.
yeah, I didn't come up with it. This
Right.
nerd who wrote this did.
That's awesome. Well
Their
done.
towns in 1871. Boston suffered its own Great Fire a year later. Were these infernos another convenient cover story for some of the damaging effects caused by a far-reaching mud flood? So I was talking
Yeah.
about this with Andrea, and she just deflated my whole argument
Oh
because I
no.
was like, all these great cities burnt down in 1 year. Isn't that crazy? They're obviously covering something. She's like, or most of these buildings would have been made by wood, and since they all burnt down in the same year, it could have been just a really hot, dry year. I was like, God damn it. Get
I
this
was talking.
logic out of my argument.
I was talking to somebody recently. God, I can't remember who it was. I think it was somebody at work who was talking about like cities and like every city has a story about a fire or
Yeah.
a flood or a disaster of some sort. So
Mm-hmm.
like you know how like you always hear like the Great Fire, the Manchester Great Fire in England. I heard about that growing up my whole life, right? And like Manchester burned to the ground, so they rebuilt it in bricks. And
Yeah.
Boston had a great fire and it burned down. And they rebuilt it in bricks and they built it in stone. And everywhere had a great. Vancouver had a great fire.
Did
Like
it?
it's all this. Yeah, it's like this big thing. It's just this whole big thing where like everywhere had a fire and everyone thinks it's a very individual unique story to each city and each piece of
Yeah.
architecture, but some shit burned down, they built it back with stone, and that's why we have all these stone buildings in places, because there was a huge fire and shit burned down and they rebuilt it, and everyone thinks it's a unique story to their own city.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like it could be either this Tartarian conspiracy theory where they're trying to cover it up, or B, people were just fucking idiots and they had no fire code. And
Yeah.
it's like every law that we have, every regulation and law we have right now is because somebody died doing something stupid. So that's why, like, when you have a big event, the fire department comes in and be like, is there too many people in here? Because at one point somebody had a party and there were too many people in it and they died.
Yeah.
So it could just be that, or they could be covering up for these buildings. I kind of want to do a mud flood tour and go see
Just
some
like
of
go
these.
and see, like, yeah,
Yeah, just go look with my eyes.
go look, go see for yourself.
Yeah,
The
because
oh god.
I was gonna say, like, one of the reasons that this is probably there's a lot more of these like in the southern U.S. and stuff is back to the Graham Hancock Southern dry
Okay.
ice impact, because when the Southern dry ice impact happened, which could
Younger
be a mud
Dryas? I think
flood.
you mean Younger Dryas.
What did I say?
Southern Dryas.
Okay, younger dry. Sorry.
Yeah.
When those comets impacted North America, like I think from the Great Lakes up,
Yeah.
so all of Canada was covered with like a 2 mile sheet of ice.
Right.
So that would be one of the reasons why we don't have Tartarian buildings and stuff, was because they would be all under ice, and that could be what the mud why the states has all this mud there, because if all this ice melted and this onslaught of water came, it would be carrying all the mud,
Right.
and the mud doesn't go as far as the water, so all
Yeah.
these that are in the south of the states would get most of the mud, as opposed to, like, if you go look, because I don't know if mud flood, I didn't really hear if mud flood was like around the world, because they always kind of talk about what happened in the states,
Yeah.
but I imagine it would be.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's kind of like one of those things where the I guess if there was a mud flood, it would be like the prairie regions. I don't really even know. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah. And the other best part, the thing that I love doing is just like fucking connecting all these theories. Like, because remember we talked about alien war? I connect
Yeah.
everything to alien war. So it's like the younger Dryas, I connect to the alien war because that was like what, episode 7 or something?
Yeah.
One of
It
the
was
old episodes
it
of the
was
DL
early
show.
on in the
I think it
podcast
was your
life.
first episode, wasn't it?
Alien War was my first one. Yeah.
So it's supposed the supposed theory was that humans were this warring species, and our technological advancement had grown too fast, and our morality advancement hadn't caught up. So we were
Right.
basically like, if you're a Star Trek nerd, it was basically the Terran Empire, and they're just out conquering. And then some alien races got together and they stunted the growth of humans and technology and put us back on Earth. They killed off Mars because we were a dual planet society.
Right.
And then they kind of made it so we wouldn't get as smart as fast until we basically learned how to not be giant dickheads, which,
We still haven't learned that.
sorry,
Yeah. We're
not
still
working
working
out.
on that one. Yeah.
But I like to combine that too, because what if the mud flood / younger dry ice impact theory was because of that alien war? Like,
Yeah.
if they, because one of the theories was that Mars and the I was gonna say U.S. Earth or whatever, but
US Earth. US Earth.
Mars and Earth had these, like, supposedly back then, comet warning systems, but they were sabotaged so that they couldn't, like, get rid of the comets that were going to hit them. And one hit Mars and basically hit it so hard that the atmosphere bled off into space and it killed the planet.
Yeah.
And another couple pieces hit Earth, and that could have been the younger dryas impact that hit this like 2 mile thick ice sheet and basically warmed up the Earth super fast and all this stuff, and wiped out whatever civilization was here 13,000, 12,000 years ago.
Right.
Watch the
Yeah.
Graham Hancock thing. He doesn't talk about the alien war thing part of that.
Yeah.
He just talks about the impact and these societies that he has proof that, well, not proof, but pretty much proof, alleged proof. Let's say that, just
We'll
like a
call it
legal
alleged
thing.
proof. Sure, that
Yeah,
works.
alleged proof.
That works for me. I think alleged proof works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions about Tartaria? There's,
No.
I just want everybody to know there's so much fucking more. There's so much
Yeah.
more.
It sounds like
And
more. Like, I mean, it's yeah.
it's
I
like
think
I want to talk about this for years.
you covered, I think, the good parts about it, or like the
Mhm.
more interesting parts about it, though, right? Like the
Yeah.
mud flood, the locale, the like the some of the what are some of the other theories behind it, though? Like, give me some more conspiracy theory
Of
pieces
the mud
of
flood?
yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That was the only one. I was listening to a book But like, yeah, the problem is with the whole Tartaria thing is there's like this mud flood, and they're like nobody really knows how the mud flood happened. Like
That's what I was gonna get at. Yeah, like
the
wow,
crust
like
liquefaction theory is the one that they're like, yeah, maybe the Earth just got soft, but
you're soft. You grow a
yeah,
thicker crust, pussy. Let's go.
like another theory could have just been like because the mud flood I think is like I said before, it might be everywhere, but I think it's only mostly in North America. But another thing could have just been like it was a world empire and they could have had like a disease or something that wiped the
Yeah.
people out. Basically, what happened is Tartaria was this global empire. They got wiped out. The mud flood is one of the way theories of the way they got wiped out, but
Yes.
that could have also come after they were like because they could have left. This is all just me hypotheticals. They could have
Hypotheticalizing.
left Mongolia and Tartaria and came over to North America and set up there
Yeah.
and then got wiped out there. But it's like a global empire. So obviously, like let's look what's going on with the states right now. They're like
Yeah.
in all these other wars, and eventually shit goes down. Like what happened to the British Empire? Like Britain's still around, but it's not the British Empire anymore.
No,
Yeah.
it certainly is not.
Who do you
Um,
think is going to be the next empire? China?
probably. I'm gonna have to assume it's China.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's not gonna be Canada.
What if
Right
it's
now.
what if it's China, Russia, and they finally raise up and they're like, surprise, we were Tartaria all along. La, 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 la.
these, they come out of hiding. Everybody comes out of the
Oh
ground, like
man.
out of these caves. Holy
Yeah.
shit!
See
Two
the
billion people was a conservative estimate.
and the craziest thing to me, well, it's not that crazy, but it's just something I never really thought about before the whole Ukraine war slash Israel thing where Russia and China are teaming up. And it's like, of course they're teaming up because they're neighboring
They're
countries.
literally connected, right?
Yeah. So it's like you when you think about Russia and China, you think about Chinese people and Russian people. You don't think about like Serbian or not Serbians of like Mongolians and stuff who were like a mixture of the both.
Yeah,
Like,
or Kazakhstans, or like
yeah,
yeah,
like
Kazakh people or Mongolians, and yeah,
these
they're like in between. They're
ferocious,
sitting
like,
in the middle, right?
yeah,
They're
like,
true Tartarian territory. Wow,
oh,
try saying that
and
10 times fast. True Tartarian territory. True Tartarian territory.
have we ever talked about the um accidentally homoerotic China and Russia team up World War II propaganda?
No,
Oh,
that
so
sounds like
anyways,
yeah,
so they're like China hated Japan. Russia
yeah,
hated Japan because Russia actually fought a war with Japan and then Japan won and they went to take some of Russia and then the world said no and that's actually why Japan joined Germany in the World War because they were pissed
right.
off because they couldn't take over land. Anyways, it was China and Russia were teaming up against them and so they made all these like propaganda posters where it's like strapping blonde white dude with strapping black haired Chinese guy, and they like got their arms around each other and stuff, and they're like
Ooh,
wearing overalls and other homoerotic
and
attire.
overalls with no shirts, because that's my favorite outfit for the record.
Yeah, and
It works for both
it's
rednecks and for propaganda, for
there
communist
you go.
propaganda.
It's there's probably nothing to do with anything sexually, but it's just we're all dumb perverts now, and we
Well,
can't
that's true.
view the past without being like, were they fucking each other? Because it looks
Well,
like they were fucking each
oh,
other.
I see. I just looked it up because it's
Yeah,
so funny. Yeah, there's like
right.
they're in welders masks and they're like
Yeah,
looking at each other longingly. And then the family one where they're like it's two dudes and two boys and there's the family one's funny because there's a Chinese guy on the left, a Russian guy on the right, and then their boy children are swapped, but they look like a family. It's super weird. Yeah, oh man, and they're the overalls one, they're both holding a book together, and
yeah,
they're both holding flags of their countries in overalls. Oh man, yeah, this is pretty funny. And then they're
yeah.
in an
Probably
orchard
communist
with
book or
doves
whatever.
and they're holding hands like this. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
These are fantastic.
So that's what happened to Tartaria. They gave them overalls and a book,
Oh
and
my
then they
god.
just raised
They
homosexual
absolutely
families.
if like if you don't read Chinese or Russian, oh my
Yeah,
god, those are so incredibly like
I
it
could
looks like an
trans
ad for a gay bar.
I can translate that for you. What it says is this is totally not gay. These two men are heterosexuals fighting in the war. Everybody who thinks this is bad or is horny is a disgusting pervert.
Well, I'm horny, so I have to go now. The man, that's wild. The wow. Wow. Okay, stop looking at those. Those are amazing. I'm getting a boner. That's I man, the juxtaposition of those posters is
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yeah,
Like it's just such a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Russian guy. We all know there's no homosexuals in Russia. That's a thing that Russia says. They
yeah.
do share like a communist history that goes back a really, really long time. So it makes sense that
Russia and
they would,
China, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
they would,
when
and
they were
they're
Tartaria.
neighbors when they were Tartaria. So it makes sense that they would come back and maybe do this. Yeah.
Yeah. So another conspiracy theory about Tartaria was the whole Ukraine thing was supposedly um over Tartarian uh like Tartarian land. What was the thing that they took that there's a bridge to?
Terabithia? I'm just kidding.
No, it was one of the first things that Russia took. Or they had taken it before.
I wasn't paying
Oh
attention.
fuck, you know, I gotta look up
I'm
a
too
war
privileged.
map.
I can't pay attention to war and somewhere
I'm gonna
else that I
go to
don't care
Google
about.
Maps. Google Maps. I'm gonna look
Uh,
it up.
so Ukraine is within Tartaria, within the Tartarian Empire, technically.
Mm-hmm. Of
Okay.
course it is, Jeff.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. I had to check it out for myself.
I know, I'm just being a dickhead. Oh here, I got Google Maps. Everybody listen
What
while I
what was
Google
what were you talking
Map.
about? What was the
Okay,
question
so it
again?
went to Caspian Sea, which is wow, which would be include Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan,
Yeah,
Uzbekistan, and then what the fuck is Ukraine on this
Russian
map?
troops took Kherson, Kherson. It's the first major city for all the Russian forces.
Where is Ukraine? Fuck. Now people are gonna be like, you don't even know where Ukraine is on a map. Oh no,
Uh,
wait, I know where this is. Oh no, wait, I don't. Where is it?
it's literally the middle of Tartaria.
It's on the east coast of Russia, right?
It's under Belarus.
Oh, there it
It's on
is.
the west. It's on the west side of Russia.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
under Belarus and Poland, and between Belarus, Russia and Poland under Belarus,
Why are these names in
next to
fucking
Romania,
that fucking port that they wanted? The how Russia
Moldova.
took God damn it, and then Ukraine blew up the bridge to it. Um fuck. Why is this in Russian? Christ's sake. How do I
Sevastopol.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but Crimea. Fuck Dale.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god, I think
Crimea
I
is an
got
island.
yeah, that's that whole island.
Yeah.
That specifically is the tart is what the
Or it's a
Tartarian
sorry, it's not an
conspiracy.
island. It's a
Yeah,
peninsula. My bad.
that's what the Tartarian conspiracy theorists think this whole war is over because they don't want Russia to have that because then Tartaria could rise again. So the states, one of the reasons they're in Ukraine is they're trying to stop Russia slash Tartaria from rising up and retaking the globe. Because how fucked up would people get if like Tartaria just resurfaced
Yeah.
and they're like, hey, look at all these buildings in your cities that we built. We were there before you.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't be like, get off our land or whatever, but they would be like,
Get off my lawn.
we took over the world once.
We
You want to watch us do it
we're
again?
gonna do it again, and there's nothing you can do to stop us.
Yeah, the US is spread too thin to be world police.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody who listens to this, on my Crimea brain fart and how it took me like a year and looking at Russian. Fuck Google Maps. Why are you in Russian? This is killing me.
Dude, I was looking at something in Google Maps when you were talking about those buildings, and I searched Nebraska. And
Yeah.
when I searched Nebraska, it was in Spanish. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with Google Maps right now?
Oh my God. It's they're trying to fuck us. They don't want us
They're
to have
trying to fuck
knowledge.
us.
Yeah. Romania's in English. Why is fucking Ukraine?
Yeah, it's weak salad.
Is this one of those things where it's like they want to have the native city names just so that we can fucking stumble over them
Yeah,
when we
it's
try to
they're out to
read?
get you, Dale. That's how it goes.
when we try to read Cyrillic. That's right. Dale knows stuff.
Dale knows Cyrillic.
I don't
Well,
know
he
how
knows
to
the word. He knows the word
say it
Cyrillic.
or read it. I know it's their language.
He does know the language of that. It's called that.
Oh, there's a Daleki. Nice.
Oh, look at you! You got your own place, namesake, baby. Let's go.
Noise Dalek. Oh, I wonder if that's where the fucking Doctor Who thing comes from. They all the Daleks come from Dalek.
Oh,
Daleki.
oh, Dalek. I thought they were called Daleks.
Well, that might be my
Whatever.
bias. They are Daleks, but I call them
Daleks.
Daleks.
Well, that makes sense now that you say it out loud. That you would assume that that's what it
Be
is.
real shame if all these Daleks took over the universe, wouldn't it?
It
Ooh.
really would be. That'd be terrible. I'm sorry.
Exterminate.
Exterminate all non-Dales.
Mm-hmm. Only the Dale Master race will live.
Oh, wow, maybe ease up on the Dale Master race thing.
That's a good point.
I'm just looking
I've
out for
met
you,
some
buddy.
dumb Dales that I wouldn't call them the
Yeah,
Master race.
couple of Dales that are up to no good. Started making trouble in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Dude, this makes me sound every time I look at a world map, I
Yep.
just feel so fucking dumb because it's like I said, remember what I was talking about Russia and China, how they're next
Yep.
door, and you think they're like two separate things that are way far away because the people who populate those countries look so different. Like if you look at your Ukraine
Yep.
and Russia, Kazakhstan is more west of Ukraine below Russia, and
Yeah.
it's like, and Russia goes south further, like the furthest part of Russia in by Georgia or whatever
Yeah.
goes farther south or just as far south as Kazakhstan.
Yes.
So it's
Sort
just
of.
it hurts my brain to think about it because it's like if that border wasn't there, would Kazakhstanis just look like Russians?
Well, so that they okay, so this is the thing. Like, yes and no. So Western Kazakhstanis look more European, and
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Kazakhstanis look more Mongolian Chinese.
That makes sense because
Are
they're
you like and right like that whole region
yeah,
like Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, most of the
Tajikistan.
stands. So you've got Afghanistan below, right?
That's the other thing. Like I thought Afghanistan was like
It's
on this
Arabic.
like desert part of the world
Yes,
that
it
wasn't
is. And
beside China.
but so you go further north and you get to like Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, they're all desert
Yeah.
areas. Kazakhstan is desert and it turns into what's the word I want to say? Oh my god.
Green on my map,
No, it has a name.
semi-arid desert.
It's not semi-arid, it's slightly different. It's one up from that.
Oh, okay.
Um so yeah, so like half of Kazakhstan's like a totally like part Mongolian, part Russian looking people.
Yeah.
There's like all kinds of, it's a big mix, right? And same with
Oh,
Mongolia.
okay.
So you have like
Yeah.
northern like Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia is like totally full of sort of, there's some Russian people and there's some Asian people. Like it's that super mix of it right in there.
Yeah. Where's the steppes? The steppe people or whatever. Is that just Russia?
That's Russia. I think
Oh,
that's
okay.
like, yeah,
Russia's so fucking big.
it's so big.
Why
It's
do they
so
need
big.
more land?
I don't think it's about Landale. I don't think
It's
it's
about
about
the
land at all.
Tartarian. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's crazy.
But yeah, like China and Russia are close, but they're literally separated by Mongolia.
Dude, and then
So
Finland's right there.
what?
Like,
It's not right there.
well, it's north of there. Like, it's
No,
like
it's Ukraine. Finland would never have been included in Tartaria. It didn't even
no, I
register
know,
in
but
there.
what I'm saying about when I'm talking about how these countries are right next to each other on the map, like
They're not. Yeah, they're not really. That's
if you go
miles and
from one
miles.
end of Canada
Yeah.
to the other end of Canada, it's less distance than the distance from Finland to Ukraine
So
because it's basically Belarus, Latvia, Estonia, Finland.
you know about the Mercator projection, right?
The what?
Mercator projection.
I've heard it, but please
So
explain it for the
okay,
people who
so
don't know.
the way we look at the map
Oh yeah, we were talking about this.
is it's the way like the way when you look at Google Maps and you look at the world in Google Maps, you're seeing the Mercator projection. Anytime we look at a flat map, which is like it's narrower in the middle, and as things
Mm.
expand north and south, those land masses get larger than they actually are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, we talked about the Mercator thing
Greenland isn't
projection.
actually that big when you look at a map. That's what I'm trying to say, right?
Dude, we had an episode where we talked about the Mercator
Did
projection
we?
for a while, like at least half an hour. I can't remember what episode that was.
I don't know if that was you and me. Maybe that was your other podcast.
No, it was you and me because you're like,
Oh,
oh yeah, I've heard of the Mercator thing, and then we were
yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah, so
Fuck,
that
what
maybe it was
was
us. I don't know. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. So like when you're looking at it, Russia's big, but it's not.
not
It's like
that
it's
big.
not as big as we were looking at it. It's the same with Canada. Canada's huge, but it's not as big as it looks on the map
Yeah.
because you have to take the Mercator projection into account. So right at the equator, like right through where you're seeing like Russia, that's or not Russia, the tip of like Africa and like the northern end of Africa and Mexico. That's like actual size, and then everything gradually gets bigger and the way you go out from the equator.
Mm-hmm. What's the other one? The
There's a
world
yeah, I
map.
can't remember what it's called. The Mercator
Um,
projection's the one that we use currently.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna look it up.
Here, look. I'm gonna Google it. Non-Mercator projection. I mean, we could probably end this podcast right now.
I
We're
know.
talking
Oh,
about.
there's three basic types of map projections.
Yeah.
Uh, as azimuthal, so the azimuth is like north south, conical, and cylindrical. Yeah, and the most well-known map projection is the Mercator projection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So everybody go look up and then look up these maps and don't make fun of Dale's distinct lack of geographical
So yeah,
cultural relevance.
but you're right though. Russia's big. It's huge, but it is a giant expanse of land. The same way Canada is a giant expanse of land, right?
Yeah,
But it's not as big as it looks on the map
that's a good point.
comparatively.
Yeah.
What the hell do I know? I'm in
Okay.
marketing.
Any other question? I don't even think we made an hour, but I should probably go anyway.
Yeah.
Any other questions about Tartaria? I'm trying to think of if there's any that I should
I
mention.
just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for tying it back into tartar sauce. Barbarian sauce.
Yeah, barbarian sauce. Give me barbarian
I can't wait to have
sauce.
fish and chips, my once a year fish and chips again, so I can talk about the
Yes,
barbarian sauce with my family, and they're gonna look
yes.
at me like, "What the hell? Why do you spend so much time with Dale?"
And the best could be like, pardon me, but is there capers in this barbarian
Barbarian
sauce?
sauce. Totally. Fantastic.
All right, let's end it there.
Yeah, I
You
gotta go
can't
eat.
top
I haven't eaten
barbarian
dinner yet.
sauce. Are you gonna
Yeah,
have
now I'm all
barbarian sauce?
hungry. I'm all hungry for barbarian sauce.
Barbarian
Let's go. I think
sauce.
we're having spring rolls, so I think
Nice. That'd be
that
good
would
with
taste
barbarian
weird,
sauce.
but I'll try it. I'll see what happens. Oh
All
man.
right. That's the end of the
Thanks for joining
podcast.
us on the Dale Show.
Look in the show notes for more information. I will link to the articles I read and pretended I didn't even pretend I wrote them,
No,
but yeah,
I'm
just
pointing at
look
my
in the show
gangbanger.
notes. Join our Patreon. We haven't done any exclusive material because we don't have any Patreon. So, but if you want to do it, we'll do some short exclusive ones. Maybe talk about barbarian sauce or whatever. Anyways, yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank
And
you.
until next time.
Bye.